What is going on again, you sexy bitches? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling, and this is a news and rumors break. We're talking today about some of the crazy news and rumors that came out of the past weekend in pro wrestling and sports entertainment. There was a lot of stuff that came out this past weekend. As some of you guys know who do follow my channel, I don't typically watch the Saudi Arabia shows. I did see a lot of people reviewing it and talking about what happened and the results while looking at Twitter, which I'm also trying to stay away from as much as possible. Days in the wrestling community are numbered, but anyway, it was pretty interesting to see the feedback coming in, apparently from a lot of people from what I saw of just fans tweeting about it. I mean, unless you were like the diest hard of WWE sweaties, you didn't really, people seemed to be kind of meh about the show. There wasn't anything that really was crazy or stand out about it, outside of Bobby Lashley's injury and the finish for the men Elimination Chamber with Brock Lesnar apparently threw Austin Theory off the top of the thing or whatever. I don't know what happened, but the end result of it, though, there were two big things that came out of it. One of them was that Brock Lesnar did become the new WWE champion, which now, of course, sets up the big WrestleMania champion versus champion match against Roman Reigns, which we all kind of were expecting after things switched around after day one earlier this year. The other thing is that Bobby Lashley was injured going into the match. They knew he was injured, so they worked an injury angle in the match where they had somebody throw, Seth Rollins threw Theory into the that damn buckle bomb that he always injures people with into the pod that Bobby Lashley was in, and then they sold that as the injury and taking Bobby Lashley out of the match. This now does, however, I would think, but it's WWE, so the story, it's made for, it's the Pixar of wrestling, so let's just not get too critical about it, but you would think that would lead to Bobby Lashley now definitely having motivation to challenge Brock Lesnar in the future in WWE, but we'll see, who knows if that's going to happen or not. There is one other thing that came out of the Elimination Chamber news that I saw on the YouTube channel for WWE, which was Miz saying that because of what happened with the match of him and Dominic and Rey Mysterio, that he needed somebody on his side, somebody who was just as famous as he was, and just as handsome as he was. If he had said dashing, I would have thought definitely something else was up, but he didn't say dashing. I immediately thought he was talking about Cody Rhodes, but then after doing some research, it looks like they're trying to work an angle of Logan Paul and The Miz. But then again, they could be swerving you. It could be Cody that The Miz is talking about. Of course, Cody, who has left AEW, and while he was at AEW, had his version of Miz and Mrs. with Rose to the Top. That would seem like it to be a natural feud between the two of them, or at least something to feud about. But the rumors are a little bit more interesting when it regards Cody Rhodes and a possible wrestler coming back to WWE as well. Well, the other person's really not a wrestler, technically, and they aren't really returning to WWE, but there are rumors right now that the big thing that Vince McMahon is planning for Cody, if he does in fact go to WWE, is a match between Cody and Vincent Kennedy McMahon himself. Now, I'm telling you right now, if that's what they're doing, I'm definitely in for that one. I would want to see. That would be worth the Cody Rhodes going to WWE. If I get to see Cody versus Vince, that would be pretty cool. So that's the big news coming out of WWE. Well, there is also one other person coming back out of retirement apparently for WWE at WrestleMania, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin. All of this craziness happened last week. Apparently, the whole setup is going to be Kevin Owens, who's been using the stunner for, a year or two now. He's playing into it on social media, talking about how he hates Texas and all this stuff. But the plan is right now, it's been announced that Stone Cold is most likely going to be returning to the ring at WrestleMania this year. Again, they're pretty much stacking WrestleMania up. I'm telling you right now, I'm excited for some of the stuff they're doing for Mania. If it is Vince versus Cody and Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens, those two matches will definitely make me excited for WrestleMania this year, which I haven't been excited for WrestleMania for about 2 or 3 years now. So that's stuff that I might want to definitely check out. So WWE making some pretty good moves. It is WrestleMania season, and for the first time, and it's early, this year it is starting to feel like a WrestleMania season. It hasn't, WrestleMania even before the pandemic, was kind of like, okay, yeah. But this year it does feel like it's going to be extra special. So I'm definitely excited to see if WWE is going to be able to pull this off this year. Last year's WrestleMania, night 1 was pretty good. Let's see if both nights can be pretty awesome this year. WWE is not the only people making the rounds and making a lot of noise back in the rest of the pro wrestling world. Dave Meltzer, of course, had his interview with Kenny Omega. People are going to feel one way or the other about it. You know, Dave is a big show for Kenny Omega. I'm a big show for Kenny Omega. Not as big as Dave, but Kenny Omega is probably one of my favorite wrestlers of the current generation. He did get me... He brought me to be a lot more passionate about wrestling than I had been prior to 2016 when he started his come up. And I always dig Kenny Omega interviews because he doesn't do a lot of them. And when he talks, he sounds like a normal person. He doesn't sound like he's drunk. Like a lot of other wrestlers, they sound like they're drunk or they're cutting promos. Kenny sounds like, you know, the dude you know at work, you know, and he's done some cool stuff and you want to talk to him. Talked a lot about his body injuries, and they are worse than we thought they were. He's not coming back anytime soon. And, you know, the way he was wrestling for 6 years straight, you know, through in the New Japan, through Ring of Honor, his time in AEW, obviously, his time in Impact, his time in Mexico, all the traveling, all that stuff really caught up to him. And it's interesting to hear he's very knowledgeable about body chemistry. It's curious to listen to that part of the interview. But one of the things they talked about was Cody. Omega kind of hinted, and I think he was trolling people, that Cody was on a plane to Saudi Arabia. Of course, Cody wasn't at the Elimination Chamber event, or it didn't appear on TV for the Elimination Chamber event. But Kenny was really talking about his body. And one of the things that really struck me was that he talked about, as far as the Cody thing, that him and the Bucks were never really into this for the war. It was really Cody that was all about the war stuff. And Cody was the big, he talked a lot. He did a lot of talking. And I really thought back on it, and I was like, you know what, that actually is true, because the throne and making fun of Walter's name and all of the shots and stuff, the majority of that stuff came from Cody. So maybe you're going to see less of that in AEW. And I know there are a lot of fans, both just wrestling fans and AEW fans, who kind of got tired of the constant shots at WWE because it seems a little excessive. And other people in AEW do it too. Jericho's had his things. The Bucks have had some stuff here and there, but nothing major. Tony Khan talks a lot of stuff. They've calmed that down a lot lately, fortunately. So hopefully this means that we are entering a new era in AEW, and that the era of AEW will be entering in is not worrying about what WWE is doing, but now completely focusing on AEW and building AEW up to be the punk rock of wrestling to WWE's more Taylor Swift, Britney Spears presentation of wrestling. And that's a great, you know, I can make analogies all day long about the difference between the two companies. They just are what they are. But I was very interested in hearing that, you know, Omega, you never hear Omega saying much about WWE. He doesn't take any shots at them or anything else. You know, he has in the past, like, small shots, but nothing really. It was more about him talking about he wanted his vision of wrestling to be able to be seen by the most people possible. He wouldn't be able to do that in WWE. Same thing with the Bucks. That was their thought. And AEW was their chance to do it. I like that presentation a lot more than the we're at war with WWE kind of stuff. I think we're all over that at this point. I think the reason we're over it now in this generation of wrestling fans is because back in the 90s with the Monday Night War, it was really more the companies that were going at each other. The fans just kind of enjoyed the whole thing. Now, with the current war, the reason why it feels so effed up is because the war is way more between the fans arguing online than it is even with the wrestlers. You know, they say their stuff here and there, but the vitriol amongst AEW sweaties and WWE sweaties, and then the casual fans, and then just regular pro wrestling fans, people who like wrestling as a genre in general, who don't, like myself, who don't understand, like, they're different products, they do different things. It's like siding between WWE and AEW is kind of like trying to compare inside, you know, Pulp Fiction with, you know, Sing 2. You know, they're both movies, but one is geared towards a family audience and it's going to get a lot more people because it's family friendly, and the other one is kind of more for people who are really into things that are a little bit more nuanced, sophisticated, and violent. So you can't really whatever. But it was cool to hear Kenny Omega kind of echoing sentiments kind of like that when he was talking about the war and what Cody was doing, and that he wishes Cody the best. If Cody wasn't happy in AEW, he absolutely should have left, and I think I have to agree with that. The one final person I want to talk about who made a lot of noise over the past week is Jay White, Switchblade from New Japan Pro Wrestling, who he's kind of like been in the background for a lot of stuff over the last year, ever since that fantastic main event match he had with Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom last year, which, you know, got a lot more people talking about him. It wasn't on the levels of Omega Okada, but it was kind of a similar kind of thing that a lot of people who weren't paying attention to Jay White heard about that Ibushi match at Wrestle Kingdom last year. And we're like, ooh, and the promo, and was he leaving, and all this stuff that happened last year. But now Jay White has appeared on Rampage. He's appeared, obviously, he's been running quite weekly on Impact with Bullet Club and that whole feud against Violent by Design and the Good Brothers. But now they had their pay-per-view, Impact did this past weekend, and shocker of shockers, and I don't think anybody saw this coming, Jay White turned on Tama Tonga during the match between the Good Brothers and the Guerrillas of Destiny for the Impact Tag titles. And Jay White has officially, I don't know officially what that means. The interesting thing about this too is that Jay White technically is the fourth leader of Bullet Club. There was first Prince Devitt, who we know is Finn Balor now. Then there was AJ Styles. Then there was Kenny Omega. Then there was Jay White. The prior three leaders all got kicked out. All were fired from the Bullet Club. Tama Tonga made mention of this in a promo a week or two ago on Impact about how, you know, the Good Brothers need to be officially fired. But it looks like Jay White threw in with the Good Brothers. Him and Chris Bay threw in with the Good Brothers, and they did the up top two suite, not the down under two suite that the New Japan guys have been doing, Tama Tonga and those guys have been doing. So I don't really know what's going on here. The Young Bucks kayfabe were trolling Tama Tonga for getting turned on. Because there's still bad blood there. We never did resolve that whole thing with the firing squad against the Elite right before the Elite left New Japan. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this whole Bullet Club thing. It's getting really complicated. But what does this mean for Jay White? He's called out people on New Japan Strong from AEW. Now, he's been on AEW, but he's there at the behest of Adam Cole. Is that a setup or not a setup? And now he's on Impact. He's turned on Tama Tonga and teamed with the Good Brothers, who are friends with Kenny Omega, who he's supposed to be not in favor with. Something's going on here, and it could be really cool, or it could be just, you know, they don't know what they're doing. I'm hoping for more that these guys have set up something that's really cool, that it means something big is about to happen with the Bullet Club that's going to change up Bullet Club. Either that, or this is the end of Bullet Club. Because over in New Japan, the House of Torture is kind of its own thing, and really, I can't really consider it Bullet Club right now. Bullet Club in New Japan right now is essentially Taiji Ishimori and Jado and El Phantasmo, and then the Tongans whenever they, you know, are able to get into Japan. So I don't know. Where is Jay White going? Is he on Adam Cole's side? Is he on Kenny Omega's side? Is he on the Good Brothers side? He's not on Tama Tonga's side anymore. Is he ever going to go back to Japan? He's not in the New Japan Cup field of 48. A lot of stuff going on with Jay White. It could be a very interesting year for the Switchblade. They've got my interest. I really want to kind of see where it's going. And hopefully, again, you know, sometimes these things happen in wrestling, they don't go anywhere. And you're like, man, it seems like they're setting up something and it doesn't materialize into anything. I'm seriously hoping this does, because what my writer's brain goes to as far as storytelling is concerned, the things that it seems like they could logically be going to with all of this stuff that involving Jay White could be pretty goddamn cool. So I hope they're doing what I think they're maybe doing, but we'll see over the next couple of months. But I want to know what you guys think about all these stories. What do you think about Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back against Kevin Owens? What do you think about Brock Lesnar being the WWE Heavyweight Champion in the double title match at WrestleMania? What do you think about the idea of Vince McMahon taking on Cody at WrestleMania? What do you think about Kenny Omega's comments about Cody? And where do you think this Jay White stuff is going to go? There's so much going on in the world of sports, entertainment, and wrestling right now, and I want to know what you guys think about it. So definitely, once again, let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe button while you're down there, and share this video on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. I guess you can't share it on TikTok, but wherever you talk, I gotta get on TikTok. Wherever you guys talk about sports entertainment on social media. I'll see you guys soon for more news, rumors, and commentary right here on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.